Hello everyone, welcome back to Discovering Dawson's Creek here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. We're getting towards the midpoint of season 5 now. That's a little bit crazy when you think it really does feel like yesterday or last week or a very short time ago that we started season 5 and the great different feeling season that it certainly is. We've got an interesting episode as well. You know, we're reaching episode 10 of the season today. It feels like a significant episode where we end up everybody finding out the very key story point that happened in our last couple of episodes there on Discovering Dawson's Creek. But before that, we get a little fun sort of spooky episode as well, which feels like a Halloween special, but apparently aired in December.
It aired in December per my synopses. It says it aired very strange, but
very odd. You almost feel like it's an episode that they could have put as the Halloween episode if they really wanted to, because it doesn't have any say into anything.
No, it could have aired
decided
anytime.
not to.
Yeah, and some of the vignettes in this episode are set at Halloween time. So
very odd.
Yeah. Very
odd. But as I think we rightly say, that does come before episode 10, which is a nice big dinner party scene. There's a lot of Graham's house setting in these couple of episodes. We're not really spending much time at the college, at the
college campus. So maybe it was a set of episodes where they didn't have access to the campus at the time.
I mean, it must have been.
So they just had to kind of be strategic about what they were going to film. Because even after I finished watching these 2 episodes, it kind of starts going into the next episode. And that one was like going back home for a break, like a holiday break or something, back to Cape Side. So we were not even in Boston for that first little bit I saw before I turned it off. So
this is definitely a production thing going on here to center a couple of episodes, mainly around Graham's house. I suppose the 4 Scary Stories episode does venture out in its vignettes to various locations and other such things, but we are centered around Graham's house, which is nice because I don't feel like we spend as much time there as we maybe should, even only 10 episodes into season 5 and her obviously having this new house in Boston. I'm enjoying season 5 though. I certainly do think that this 10th episode probably feels like the strongest of the season so far, in a season that I think has been very enjoyable, differently enjoyable. It really does feel like a new show, a fresh show, almost as though Dawson's Creek proper ended when everybody left Cape Side and left high school, and truly, developed into a different show for the college years, as we tend to jokingly call it on Discovering Dawson's Creek. But it genuinely does feel like that. It doesn't at times feel even like exactly the same show. It feels like a spin-off with the same characters, which some people might not like, but I have taken to, because it needed that freshness. And while I think in that 10th episode that we're talking about today, we're getting a little bit of the same emotional relationship retreading beats that we've had in the past, even they feel different now because everybody's changed, everybody's matured, there's different mindsets, there's different mentalities going on. So I don't even mind the traditional Dawson's Creek flopping back and forth between various relationship pairings as much now. I can take that on board now because they actually feel like different people, and it doesn't just feel like the same people doing the same thing 3 or 4 times.
Yes, the growth is definitely there, and, um, I like these kind of Graham-centered episodes because it is them trying to kind of hold on to this dynamic, and
Yeah.
them kind of struggling too because they're all in different places, and I like that they acknowledge that. They acknowledge that, it's going to be difficult for them to kind of try to maintain this friend group,
As it is for
so
everybody who in this stage of
yes,
their life.
exactly, exactly. So I like that they address it kind of for, the purposes of the show, but also I think for us fans who do feel this bit of a shift. So I like that it's not this forced trying to keep these friendships alive. There are some kind of tricky avenues and complex things because they are all exploring different aspects of themselves. They've all grown a ton since the last time we saw them, since high school. So particularly the 10th episode, I think, is doing a lot to not just, really service this shift in storytelling, but also, do a service to the fans who have seen these characters kind of grow and maybe are feeling that,
Yeah.
and where I think shows that actually kind of do, shift to a, college years thing, feels like it's a forced thing to keep these people together. But here, our characters are fully addressing that they are kind of forcing themselves together despite kind of the shifts that they're going through. Um,
Yeah, I suppose
and
that's
so
what's always made Dawson's Creek unique since the early days when, Kevin Williamson was fully involved in
yeah.
everything and wasn't just, the board member on the side going, "Yeah,
Yes,
okay, crack
executive
on. I don't
producer.
really care
Yeah.
anymore."
Yeah.
Um, he obviously brought his unique flair to teen movies, teen shows of that era, and in a maturity side of things,
Mhm.
these kids are intelligent mindset, and
Yeah.
you still feel that with Dawson's Creek as a show. It's just very clever in how, and very, I suppose, respectable in
Mhm.
how it treats its own young characters. It still is, even though it's melodramatic, even though it's
Yeah.
wild at times, even though it's crazy, even though you don't like many of the things some characters do and they just
Yeah.
frustrate you, it's still respectably human. Everybody still feels like a believable person fully.
Mhm.
And I don't know truly how many other teen shows, never mind of that era, but of any real era, have this level of consistently feeling like each and every one of its characters is doing something that you, the viewer, would kind of understand them doing at any given time, even if it's
Yes.
horrible. Like, you
Yeah.
just have way too much outlandish stuff going on, and I don't think Dawson's Creek ever goes outlandish. It might go annoying, frustrating, crazy, and a bit, over the top melodramatic in terms of the emotion or even
Mhm.
some of the actual events that happen, but it never feels out of nowhere, really. It never feels
Yeah.
outlandish.
No, and there always is, I think, a bit of a self-awareness with the show as well. So that even if there's something that maybe a character isn't self-aware about in the moment, like the show kind of pays
The
you
show
back on
is,
that
yeah.
later. So, Dawson being able to acknowledge just how kind of self-involved he was and out of touch he was about things. Jen being able to lament things that she did in her past and look upon it and character choices that we weren't a fan of, and then they kind of bring it back later, um talking about how they hated that version of themselves or something.
Yeah.
So the show is very self-aware of kind of the behaviors of these characters, particularly the negative portrayals of them, and them really kind of being able to pinpoint those moments and agree with the fans that, like, we didn't like when you did that, we didn't like when you said that.
Yeah.
you know so there
That's where
always
I think
has
I
been a
am.
great kind of self-awareness with the show as well, and I think this season in particular is paying back on some of the really obnoxious character choices in the early days by kind of calling back to things like that in some really interesting and fun and nostalgic ways. So that's what I'm really enjoying about this season as well. They're really kind of taking a look back and really paying attention to what they did before and holding true to that, because I think a lot of shows could drop plot points. I mean, we've talked about a major plot point that this show drops with the whole Jen's secret sister. But generally, right. What happened to that?
What's going
But
on there?
generally, yes. But generally, I think this show, particularly this season 5, has done a good job of paying forward past things that these characters have done in some really interesting ways. So that's what I'm really enjoying about this season.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I completely echo all of that. That's exactly what I'm saying. Season 5 is giving me, as a viewer of Dawson's Creek, far more respect for it as a show than I even had last season, despite me consistently enjoying watching the show. I feel like season 3 and 4, I was enjoying watching the show as, teen melodrama. I think I'm now enjoying watching the show from the sense of the production of the show, which I think is just that next level of having respect for a piece of media. And I'm growing that with season 5 because it's doing all these things. And I love being in that mindset, I think, at the minute. It's it feels like a very satisfying place to be in.
Yes. Definitely.
But get the binder out though, Jeannine. I suppose we do have to talk about the episodes themselves, don't we, today? We'll start, obviously, with the 4 scary stories. Interesting.
Yes. So 4 scary stories aired December 12th, 2001. After watching scary movies, Joey, Pacey, and Jack talk about their creepiest experiences and urban legends. Wink, wink.
Yes. Never mind that one of them was in
a movie.
Urban Legend.
Yes. And why his little vignette has vibes of urban legend. But
yes.
Joey shares her story of how she was almost attacked by the librarian on Halloween and saved by the creepy my whole punch is cut off the word.
we will forgive the binder for its pitfalls there.
I think is saved by the creepy man she was running from. Jack tells a story of when he was helping clean the frat house basement and found a guy strapped, who later he found out to be a ghost. Pacey reveals that he was chased by a black car while giving Karen a ride home, but there was nobody driving the car. Grams arrives and says, Grams arrives and says she has the scariest story, the time when Jen got locked out of the radio booth.
Yes. I mean, Grams does come in at the end with the tiny little story of just like, yeah, there you are, mic drop, deal with that one.
Yes. Jen's not here right now, but I'll tell Jen's story.
It's impressive from Grams. I don't expect this level of horror from Grams, and obviously these are all supposed to be real things that have happened to these characters. They're telling genuine stories. Obviously that's not actually the case, and this is quite clearly a Halloween episode for a bit of fun that for some reason did air in December, and this is something I don't like about the production.
I know.
I've just praised the production of Dawson's Creek. I don't know what they were doing putting this on December the 12th. Doesn't make sense.
It's probably a situation of like, oh yeah, we didn't do a scary episode. Oh yeah, we don't have access to the college campus.
Let's do one now.
Rectify. Let's just do that now. Exactly, that's what it felt like.
Or let's do one now while we're filming Dawson and Jen canoodling off in New Hampshire or wherever it was. Let's use everybody else and have them film this, because that's what we're doing here. There's no Dawson and Jen at all, apart from Jen's little, I suppose,
story that Grams tells. Yes. So yeah, we see, the characters who are not canoodling out of town. They're coming back from a movie, returning to Graham's house, and they are so kind of jaded about it. It's not scary. It's just rehashing
Yes, they
old
didn't like the
tropes.
movie.
What happened to horror, this and that, and then that kind of leads them into telling their own scary stories, as those probably feel scarier than the movie they just watched. So
Yeah.
Joey goes first, and she's talking about how Audrey was walking her to the library to study on Halloween. Audrey has a great costume dress. Like, I immediately clocked her as Carrie White, but
Nobody
I
else does because she's not covered in
no.
blood.
Exactly, and she's like, "Ew, why do I wanna be all sticky and gross and talk to boys? No, thank you." So,
I do
very
think,
funny.
Audrey, though, I do agree with some of the other people here. I do agree with Joey in this little story sense that if you really want to be Carrie White, you've got to have a little bit of blood dripping down your face, or something has to
A
happen.
little
If
bit,
okay, you
yes.
don't have to go all out and be absolutely drowned in the stuff like Carrie
Yeah,
obviously ends up, but
yeah.
can you really just get away with going as a homecoming queen with a bouquet
I
of
mean,
flowers?
could you tell she was Carrie White before they said it and without the blood?
No, I
Oh, okay.
I I genuinely don't think I could tell she was Carrie specifically, before that. I suppose in looking at it, yes, there's a certain way she may hold the bouquet of flowers, which is very akin to how Carrie holds the bouquet of flowers in the movie,
Yes, I mean,
but
she even
I
kind of
don't
does her
know.
hair in that style, the silky dress. So yes, I and it's like I have admitted that like I don't remember a ton of specifics about this season. Like when I'm like I know these things happen, but I don't remember when these things happen. Like I knew that Mitch was gonna die this season, but I didn't remember when it
Don't
happened.
remind
I
me.
I know. I knew that, Jen and Dawson hook up, Dawson loses his virginity, but I didn't know when it was going to happen. So it isn't until I'm maybe like partway through an episode that I'm like, oh yeah, this is the one where that's gonna happen. So yeah, so
Yeah.
I don't think I had a preconceived like, oh yeah, she was Carrie in this episode. But when I saw her, I immediately kind of clocked it. So yeah, it's just kind of this running joke that like nobody knows who she is. And when she's in the library with Joey, like people are telling her to be quiet, like, shut up, prom queen, or shut up,
Yes.
just random beauty queen person. And then
Because
she has
she's
to
just trying
stand
to
up
get Joey to go to a Halloween party with her, but Joey
with
obviously
her.
doesn't want
It's
to.
like, no, I want to
Joey's too
study.
busy.
Yes, and her whole logic is there's this thing I've been wanting to check out, and every time I try to go, it's checked out. But since everyone's going to be at parties tonight, this will be the one night I know it won't be checked out.
Yeah.
Um, and so when she goes in there with Audrey, like the whole library is full, and Audrey kind of clocks this creepy guy who's just sitting in the back eating peanuts, and she's like, "This guy's creeping me out, and he keeps looking over here." And so already setting up this guy in the corner, creepy vibes, creepy vibes. And then
Look, it's
Audrey
a
mentions,
decent, fairly typical structure of
yeah,
set up the one weirdo looking character,
yeah,
maybe have maybe have a bit of a twist in there, but gradually just
yes,
build this
building to this whole
claustrophobic
scenario,
tension.
yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, and so Audrey also throws a little nugget of information that, a girl was attacked in the library, like, a month ago, so, um,
Obviously.
that's why she's kind of worried about Joey being there alone, but ultimately Audrey leaves, the library's full of people, we get this kind of montage of time passing where there's less and less and less people, to where now it's just kind of Joey in there. And the librarian. So she goes and asks the librarian, this young guy, "Hey, I checked out this thing. Can you see if it's back there for me?" And so he goes and he checks and he gets it for her. Um, and she kind of asks him, "Hey, do you mind just sticking around while I'm here? Because that guy's kind of creeping me out back there." Because the guy kind of just approaches her, the weird peanut
Yeah.
guy, and says, "Hey, can I borrow a pen?" And she's like, "Ugh," and he's just
And
very
he's
kind of
the only
weird.
other dude in there at this point. He's the only other
Yes,
person.
exactly. So, I mean, did you clock what the twist of the situation was pretty fairly quickly, since it's not like a movie that's really kind of doing a lot to obscure these obvious things.
No, I
Were
mean, look, it's we've seen this time and time again, it's still
Yeah.
effective enough, isn't it, as a little
Yeah.
story? It's still effective enough as a little twist. It's not overly shocking when that twist is revealed that ultimately in the building tension of this
Yeah.
library at night that's becoming quieter and quieter, and Joey having to go to like the special edition restricted
The
section
stacks
or
on the
whatever it
back.
is
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
go and find something, and there's obviously it's this labyrinthine maze of books and bookshelves and you don't quite
Yeah.
know where you are, and she bashes into both the creepy peanut guy and the librarian, and it's all a bit screamy and intense and tense.
Yeah.
Do you know, it works as a story structure to then play that twist that the librarian himself is the actual creepy, dangerous guy, and
Yeah.
the one who attacked this girl the other month that Audrey was speaking about, and the
Yeah.
creepy peanut guy is actually a
An
like
undercover
security
cop.
officer or police
Yeah.
officer watching to make sure everything's okay in this library. But why is he being so creepy? We can ask this question about so many things in
When they do this
various.
trope. Yes,
Yeah.
so it's just for me, like, as soon as I started watching it, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I know what the twist is." So I just wanted to kind of be like somebody who doesn't know, were they kind of quick to read that that's what the twist was, because
Well, you know what I'm
I
like
can't
in
gauge
reading
that
things
because I
anyway.
knew I've seen it before, so I knew kind of what it was, but, as somebody who hadn't seen this before, were you able to kind of just read it as kind of one of those types of scenarios?
I mean, look, you know what I'm like in looking ahead at these kind of things anyway. I
Yeah.
don't tend to do that. I very much watch
Yeah.
things in the present, so I can't admit to, whilst watching it, going, "Oh yes, the librarian's clearly the actual
Leave the
danger
yeah,
here." But
yeah.
when that is revealed, I'm like, "Yeah, makes sense. We've seen this time and again. You know,
Yeah.
this is kind of what happens." I'm not there going, "Oh my god, what a great big
Twist.
surprise. I've fallen off my chair,"
Yeah,
and all
yeah.
this sort of thing. I'm not doing that. But it
Okay.
works. It works. And
Yes.
Joey's a good lead of that little story because she's obviously quite a nervy, edgy, sort of, on the edge character anyway. She's always a bit
Yeah.
stressed one way or another.
But then she's doing, like, these, like, roundhouse kicks and, like, does all these kind
She
of, and
is,
she,
yeah, I
like,
don't know where
I think
that
she
comes
talks about
from.
taking a taekwondo class or something, and she, like, karate beats up the guy, and, that's
Yeah.
kind of the end of that story.
The
So
police
yeah.
officer's very impressed by Joey's,
Yeah.
kind of self-defense ability.
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, a fun little way to start off these little vignettes of stories, and then we move into Jack's story, where yes, he's cleaning out the basement with the other frat guys.
I like this.
And as he's kind of walking around, he hears somebody in a closet and he opens it and they're tied up in there. And it's this young
It's a creepy
boy,
basement
and
as well. There's all sorts of craziness in this
yeah,
basement.
all kind of lurking around. Yes. And so this kid is scared, and Jack just thinks he's some kid who has been hazed. And then the kid
Yeah.
starts telling him about how they tied him up because he admitted his feelings for another boy. And Jack is like,
Yeah.
I don't see what the big deal is with that. Like, I
Like,
admitted that
"I'm
to
here,
these guys.
everybody likes me."
Yeah. And he's like, but how? Like, I wish I had it the way you do. And Jack's so confused as to why this kid is, seemingly struggling with all of this. If he's in this frat house, like, he's like, but my frat brothers are cool with it. So, what's the
Yeah.
issue? Kind of situation. And so then it's only kind of revealed later that this kid is from a different time. So,
Yes, they see
uh,
they have there's a little picture, isn't there? There's a black and white
yeah,
picture, I think, of
yeah,
a class of from, like, the late '60s or something like
yeah,
that. That one of the brothers who Jack's cleaning out the basement
yeah,
with, his father was in that particular class. They find this photo, which includes this guy's dad, and there's this just interesting little bit of fraternity history, I suppose, but
yeah,
it's put in there to make you remember. Then this whole thing happens with this guy in the closet. Ultimately, Jack goes and finds this picture again and sees the guy from the closet
Guy was in the
black and white
picture.
picture.
Yes.
And then doesn't quite know what to do with that situation. And it's not made obvious by the conversation that Jack does have with this guy that he is, number one, a ghost, which he obviously ends up being revealed to be a ghost, or even like not just from the early 2000s. Like it doesn't, it's not made obviously clear. And I kind of like that. That it takes him.
It reads the twist better. Yeah.
It does. It takes him realizing it's a more effective twist in that way, because it could have just been played as, oh, this is like a human horror story. This is really terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, how much does Jack kind of have to worry and wonder then? Is there somebody in his frat who actually really doesn't
who would do
agree
this to somebody
who
with
would
his
do this to
lifestyle?
somebody?
Yeah.
Exactly. Who therefore would maybe do this to Jack, but isn't doing it to Jack because of the pressure from everybody else who really does like Jack. And he's instead doing it to this poor little weedy looking guy because he knows he probably can. Jack is obviously quite he's an athletic guy. He's a former high school football player. He's not somebody, a bully
you can pick on
would
like
easily
that.
target. This guy seems to be that, of that archetype. So what's that saying about that? But the fact there's a supernatural angle to it, I do quite like
really cool
as well, because it works in both ways. It works as that human horror story. Jack finding, another gay fraternity brother, but one that is very, very mistreated. Is a very serious real world horror.
Yes, and them not understanding each other in terms of like, why is this such a big deal? And him like, how were you able to kind of be so open kind of thing? So making this kind of little horror aspect something that directly connects to Jack, I think was really interesting, and his fraternity. So
probably
and that there's so many ways.
Stories.
Yes, in so many ways to kind of read the scenario, and then when the reveal does come, it's like, oh wow, they did a really good job of kind of obscuring, like, how he was dressed and what he's saying, and and all that kind of stuff. So I think it was a really well executed little second segment there with Jack. And then we have Pacey's segment. He's giving a Karen a ride home, and somebody flashes their high beams at him, which is a urban legend type situation. So very funny that he gets this one, as he did appear in the film Urban Legend. And there was a Dawson's Creek joke in Urban Legend with him where he turns on the radio and it starts playing the I don't want to wait. He's like, ugh, I hate that song kind of thing.
I don't remember that. That. I mean, we watched Urban Legend. I think we did it for Morgan Hasn't Seen, but we watched it way before I started watching Dawson's Creek. So
I think we did like a teen horror series a long time ago. I want to say maybe our kind of season, what we would call season 2 of Morgan Hasn't Seen, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, way back then. But there is a scene where he like hits his radio to try to get it to play, and then it starts playing the Dawson's Creek theme song, and he's like, oh, and turns it off because he doesn't like it. So
I would take that joke much better today. If I was to watch Urban Legend again, I would find myself ha-ha-ha-ing at that.
Yes, because you had no concept of Dawson's Creek really when that joke happened, which is probably why I didn't stay with you. But he's giving Karen a ride home. Somebody's flashing the high beams at them, and then kind of just chasing them around down the road. It's like this black, muscle car chasing them, and is bumping the back of the trunk and going super fast and freaking them out. And then they decide to pull over at a truck stop. So they pull over at the truck stop. There's some damage on the car. It's his boss's car, their boss's car, because at the time this happened, this is when he's at the restaurant, and Karen's, that whole situation.
Yes.
So they decide to go into the diner, and everyone's just kind of staring at them, and it's kind of implied it's like these rednecky kind of people. These,
I love how Pacey comes in as well with, which one of you redneck hillbilly incestuous morons destroyed my car. Like, he's just, where's all that harsh discrimination come from? These people are just trying to enjoy their meal.
Enjoy their little diner dinner. But as soon as they walk in, everyone's just like weirdly, dumbfoundedly, like awkwardly staring at them, just making things uncomfortable. And Pacey's kind of like trying to figure out what's going on. And Karen's like, Pacey. And he's like ignoring her. And she's like, Pacey. And he's ignoring her. And she's like, Pacey, look. And looks outside. And the creepy muscle car is parked right next to them. And they're like, oh my God. And so then as he insults them, like, which one of you hit my car? Da, 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 da. I know it was one of you. It has to be somebody in here. The owner of the restaurant has some messed up teeth. Is like, we're get out of my place. And then of course, basically has to tell him, well, you need to get your teeth fixed. Yeah.
It's proper
stereotypes,
backwoods
stereotypes. Exactly. So they get kicked out of the diner. They get in their car. They drive away and seemingly fine. Nobody's behind them. And then they get screeched to a stop because despite leaving that car behind them, the car is now waiting in front of them up the road.
Yes.
Yes, so it ends up kind of turning into this game of chicken where Pacey just decides to go headfirst towards the car and ultimately makes it swerve into a ditch. So they pull over, they get a bat out of the trunk. Karen gets the bat and she's just like about to go and like beat up whoever's been messing with them. They open the door and nobody's in the car. So creepy. So yeah.
Is it a Christine situation, like I said before?
Is
it a self-driving car? I mean, we have
self-driving cars now.
As much as they are laughably nonsensical, and we should not be having self-driving cars. And from all I seem to see about them, they just cause a bit of chaos.
Yes, like, cause traffic jams. I saw a video of a guy. He's like,
know where they're going. They just end up causing mass gridlock.
Yes. Or this guy, I think he said, I hired one of these cars to pick me up to take me home from the airport, and it took him like an hour away from his house. And he couldn't do anything about it. Like, he's trying to call the people. He's trying to like reroute it. No, it took him some crazy hour-long route to get to his house from the airport. And he said he lived like 15 minutes from the airport. So like that thing took him hostage and like drove him away somewhere. So
listen, the people who support this sort of thing, the same people who support AI removing human beings from their work and or creative work, and various other things. And I'm afraid, quite bluntly, anybody that does support any of these things, including self-driving cars, I'm afraid we just need to get rid of you in a sort of mass bonfire situation, and we'll just throw you all on the fire. Wicker Man style. We'll just throw you all in the fire and get rid of you all because we don't want you.
And we'll have
not even a human being.
And we'll have a good harvest for our troubles.
We'll have a very good harvest. A very good harvest. There will be an abundance of food for everybody because we will have gotten rid of a lot of nonsense people.
Yes, very annoying, self-aware, self-driving things. I mean, it's just getting an insane degree.
It is. I'd rather have a supernatural self-driving car like Christine or this car.
Right? Than some computer automated creepy thing. Yes. But yeah, a creepy little Christine feeling scenario for Pacey. So then Grams comes home and she's
and Mike drops the whole situation.
Yes. And so they're like, oh, telling scary stories. Well, I have a story. Jen told me this one that chilled her to the bone. So she's that doesn't sound like Grams at all. I don't know why I'm just talking generic old lady talk.
Okay, Grams.
Yes.
It's a little bit Grams. It's New England Grand.
Yes, so Grams does a little bit of a transatlantic thing, which is very cute. So, And she talks about a night that Jen was working at the radio station. But she also gives this like really dark monologue about, the scariest moments are the moments that hit you at home, at your most familiar setting where you should be the most comfortable. And when, horror finds you there, that can be the worst horror in the world or whatever. She says, like, so dramatic. I love it. Love her little like pre-monologue to this story. So Jen's working the radio station.
Turn into Stephen King.
Right. And it's Halloween night because I think we see like little Halloween like lights in the window. Jen has just played a song and then she hears this like creepy tapping on the window. She looks outside and she sees this branch is just incessantly tapping on the window. So she goes outside, she uses a trash can to prop the door open, goes and breaks off the branch. And she goes back and tries to get back inside. The trash can has moved and the door shuts on her and she can't get it open. So she's pulling it, it won't open. So then she tries to maybe like jimmy the lock with her college campus card and ends up pushing the card through the inside. So now her card is stuck on the inside. So she goes around to the back of the building to see if maybe she can get in through the back entrance. She goes down this creepy alley and she's hearing Jennifer. She's hearing her name. She's seeing some mannequin that's all like shrouded in a like a coat and hat, and he's like, and it's like shaking in the wind, like somebody's like somebody's moving back there, and it's calling her name, but the door's not open. So she's now super freaked. So she runs back to the front, and she pulls the door. Now the door opens, and the record that she was playing is skipping now too. So she's able to get in somehow. It was locked before, but now it's open. She can get in. She gets in. She runs to turn off the skipping record. She kind of says to the people, "Oh, apologies for the song messing up. We're going to a commercial break." And then as she like looks on the counter in front of her, her card that was on the floor that she dropped on the floor is now like sitting on top of the counter in front of her. And then all of a sudden that mannequin that was in the alley swings down and crashes through the glass window of the radio station. And that's the end of her little story. So yeah, super creepy.
A lot of ghosts and super things going on.
Yeah.
Getting mannequins come to life. I always do like mannequins coming to life as well. I always think it's a good horror movie story, whatever it is, when mannequins come to life. It's waxwork stuff. It goes back.
Yeah, it's very creepy.
100 years at this point, doesn't it? Or longer. Probably goes back. I don't know quite when the first waxwork horror story was written. But I certainly know there's a Waxworks movie from 1924, I think. So that's over 100 years now.
Okay. Or you can just watch Mannequin with Kim Cattrall.
I mean, you could watch that. It's a bit creepy. Even though it's supposed to be, oh, isn't it nice and cute? This man's all with a shop mannequin.
But she comes to life. She has the spirit of like an Egyptian goddess inside of
It's weird.
Have you seen Mannequin, or are you just speculating on things you don't know?
I am not speculating on things I don't know. I have seen Mannequin a long time ago, but I have watched that movie. It's uncomfortable.
Yes, I mean most 80s movies in new eyes are a little unsettling.
Yes.
But
always starring the same sort of people, aren't they, as well, when you think about it? I mean, who's it in Mannequin? It's Andrew McCarthy in Mannequin.
It's Andrew McCarthy, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's always somebody like Andrew McCarthy or, Anthony Michael Hall or somebody else.
James Spader's in it as well.
Spade, of course. James Spader. I mean, James Spader can be wonderfully creepy if he wants to be, but I admire James Spader for being able to do that. I think. Yeah,
and he's playing like nerdy creepy, so he's kind of like you forget it's him because he's playing like a different kind of creepy than you're seeing him in Mannequin. But yes,
so many
Mannequin attacks Jen. Yes. But yeah, this was like a fun little, bottle episode of just sticking in Graham's house, flashing back to these fun little stories. Doesn't move the plot along any, but just a fun little spooky time situation. I don't know how it compares to other kind of spooky Dawson's episodes that they've had, that you can remember at this point. But
I mean, I did like it. I did like this one. I mean, if you could quickly remind me of maybe a couple of other creepy ones that come to your mind, because I can't off the top of my head remember them at the moment, which is annoying.
I mean, particularly the very first one where they have the seance and Pacey brings that like crazy lady and her boyfriend tries to break in, and like throughout the whole, and Dawson's like trying to scare everybody, and Jen is like, why won't you, scare me? Like, why am I
Yes,
the
because
one
he's
person
trying
you
to be
won't
too
scare?
nicey nice.
Yes, and she invites Cliff to come over with her on their date, and it's all yes. And like throughout the episode, we heard about this like serial killer that's on the loose. And then Joey's in the car, and this man asks her for directions, and then later they learn that the guy who asked her for directions was the serial killer.
Yeah, that was quite good, to be fair. I did like that. But it just shows it's good when Dawson's Creek does do
kind
these
of
things,
branch off and does these
quite well. I mean, I know obviously Kevin Williamson's not overly involved in the writing of Dawson's Creek and hasn't been for seasons at this point, but there's still precedent with Kevin for making, for writing good horror scripts, isn't there? So he's more than capable of doing that.
100%. Yeah. So, a fun little December's Halloween episode, December-ween episode.
Yes, keep the horror going into December. Why not? I mean, there's plenty of Christmas horror out there, but it's not even Christmas horror, is it? We're fairly near Christmas in terms of the release of these episodes as well. I think this next episode 10, is kind of the one before a little bit of a Christmas break for Dawson's Creek. I think.
Yes, because the next episode won't be till January airing. So yes, but this episode plays into, I think, what we discussed kind of at the end of the last installment of Discovering Dawson's Creek was, how do you think everyone is going to react to this news?
Yes.
I think you mentioned like you said Audrey was going to be all down and in for it. Pacey was going to probably be cool with it, and so was Jack. Joey was going to feel some type of way. So you were kind of listing off how you thought everyone was going to feel about it, and we get a whole episode that shows the myriad of emotions happening in this friend group when it is revealed that Jen and Dawson are a bit of a thing. So
yes, let's get into it. Appetite for Destruction.
Yes, episode 10, Appetite for Destruction, mid-season finale, aired December 19th.
I don't like the concept of the mid-season finale, though. I mean, it spoils, I think, flow. And I don't know whether it will spoil the flow of this season and it will feel like 2 seasons in 1 season, season 5A and season 5B. I wouldn't like it to be like that, because I think
separated.
Look, we've not done this in the past. I don't feel like we've done this in the past. I don't feel like we've had mid-season finales proper in the past of Dawson's Creek. And I understand maybe the need to do it for a 22, 23 episode season, but also people today pine for the 22, 23 episode season of television again. We're tired now of the 6, 8, and 10 episode seasons of television. We don't want them anymore. We want the long form. So just have back to back to back to back to back to back, week to week to week. We don't need breaks. I understand probably the production schedule needs breaks.
And those kinds of things.
And you were able to do it at this time. Just crack on and do it.
Knock them all out.
Finale. Or at least don't pretend you're doing a bit of a finale mid-season. Just have it be an episode that continues, and then the production just says, "Oh, we're having a month off," and then have a month off, and then come back to it. You always get a previously on Dawson's Creek anyway.
Anyway,
does it make?
And this felt more like a sitcom-y kind of thing rather than like a production kind of show like this, like an on location kind of show. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's noted here. Mid-season finale aired December 19th, 2001. Appetite for Destruction. Pacey offers to cook for the gang on their weekly dinner, an event they always plan on doing but always fail to. Jen and Dawson return early and decide to keep what happened between them, but they are caught by everyone making out at the door. The dinner goes on in a very awkward way for everyone as Audrey and Dawson worry about Joey. But surprisingly, she seems to be fine with it. Charlie
No,
also
she's
drops by, causing some tension for Dawson. At the end, they all decide that keeping their long lasting friendships is more important than having a weekly dinner. And Joey confesses to Pacey how she really feels about the whole Dawson Jen thing.
That's an interesting point to bring up. Keeping their long-lasting friendships is more important than having a weekly dinner. But the weekly dinner is the purpose of doing that.
Is meant to do that.
What does that
but
mean?
Maybe that just plays into, I think, what I was saying about how they are of the mind to not force it, you know?
Well, yeah, I
So,
suppose so. I suppose
yeah.
so. I mean, we can
And
look
that
at our own lives, I suppose, when it comes to this sort of thing as well. I know full well that I was terrible at keeping proper connection with high school friends when I went to university. I know full well I was bad at doing that, and I haven't
yeah.
been great at doing that since. I think any friend, I would say I have one friend from that time in my life that I actually do now still talk to from
Yeah.
high school, and and that's not always been constant at all throughout the years.
Yeah, I
So
mean, I have a
it's
friend like that as well.
anybody that can transcend that period, I think, in anybody's life is a proper true friend that you will just have for the rest of your life at that point.
Yeah, yeah, and me, I had a friend who was a high school friend, and we, went to community college together, very close, always doing stuff together. And then we kind of hit different phases in our lives and kind of just didn't really communicate as much. She was kind of going through some firsts for her. And so I was kind of giving her the opportunity to explore those things. And then it was just kind of this weird, never really coming back together or communicating as
Yeah.
frequently. Um, and in me kind of revealing something about, my general friendships, and kind of feeling like I don't really have any friends like in my area that I could just call up and say, "Hey, let's go do something." Um, she was like, "Well, I'm here, but like it's a two-way street kind of thing. Like you haven't
Yeah,
really
it's
reached
a
out
funny one.
just as much as I haven't reached out." So then her and me ended up having like this really great conversation about, yeah, we kind of both dropped the ball. Let's work on that. So we actually literally just like a week ago had a conversation with a high school friend about us being better at like communicating and trying to plan and do something together.
I mean,
So
that can be all it
yeah,
takes, and I like.
exactly. So in watching this episode, I was very much like, yeah, it just takes this kind of honest conversation and acknowledging of the effort that needs to go into making it work.
Yeah.
So instead of kind of forcing a situation, let's just like, organically try to just stay in each other's lives.
And
So
look, our Dawson's characters are at the very, very start of that.
yeah,
We're quite some years into it, into that, the
yeah,
aftermath of all that
yeah,
fallout, I
yeah.
suppose, now.
Hmm.
So it will be interesting to see how the group, as a group, continues on, without the purposeful weekly dinners, um,
Yeah.
as it were. I don't. I feel sorry for Pacey in this episode, though. I
I
really do, because
know.
he's trying so hard to just make this really lovely meal, and he's
And
obviously
they're
more
rushing
than
him.
capable of making this really lovely meal,
Yes.
and he's just being badgered the entire time because people are hungry, people are spoiling the flow of things, people are spoiling the
Yes.
rhythm of the cooking, and everybody's just being
All
really
because of
annoying.
the
Like, you're having
chaos
a
of the
dinner
scenario.
party.
Yeah.
Somebody's cooking the dinner party. Let the cook cook the
Cook it.
food and go and
Exactly.
sit down.
Yes. So because of this scenario, everything's kind of derailed his dinner. And it's like, and so that was kind of upsetting for me. It's like it's kind of meant to be this running joke, but it's like we spent all these episodes seeing Pacey learn and really be
Yeah.
successful. Like Danny is showering him with all this praise about doing things right and making his food good and complimenting him on improving. So Pacey hosting this party, I'm like, everything should be great, but because Dawson and Jen come in and disturb everything. His risotto cooks too long and gets gummy. And then everyone's like making faces and being disgusted. And I'm like, no, he's trying.
I
And
really
then
feel awful.
to just kind of have this dinner move faster, let's serve the chicken now. No, it's not cooked yet, raw chicken. But no, we just want to kind of get this over with. Audrey keeps throwing the food on the floor and on her clothes so that she can pull Joey away to like check in. Joey, are you okay? Please, you've got to be freaking out about this. I'm here if you need to talk. And Joey's like, you're making this
Audrey,
way too
calm
obvious.
down.
Like, I'm fine. If I wanted to talk about this, I'd be the one throwing food all over my clothes to talk about this.
I would like to also point out, like, I can understand the wanting to get out of a bit of an awkward situation. Now they are making it an awkward situation for themselves. It doesn't
Yeah.
need to be an awkward situation. But you know what these lot are like? They love making things an awkward situation when it doesn't really warrant it. Also,
Yeah.
Dawson and Jen, I mean, okay, I understand that they're in this, world, the bubble that they're in at the moment, and they're just going to be all eyes for each other. But they know where they're going, don't they? They know they're going to Graham's
Yeah.
house for a dinner with everybody.
No,
So
no, no.
then,
They don't know.
oh,
They don't
they
know.
don't know they're going to Graham's house because I was a bit
No.
confused as to why they then went to Graham's house for the dinner with everybody, and then as soon as they walked through the door, just started all up and down each other, kissing each
No,
other,
because I
just
think
as though
they
everybody
showed
wasn't going to see them do it.
No, I think they showed, somebody saying at the beginning, oh, that he's like, Graham said that they were gonna Jen told her that they were gonna stay an extra day, but they end up coming, back a day early.
Ah, I
So
see.
they don't know
Okay.
that everybody's there doing this dinner. Everyone
Okay.
doesn't know that they're gonna be back. Everyone thinks they're still gonna be gone another night. So yes,
Well, I
it is a
forgive them
huge
for that then.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they walk in thinking that they're alone in the house or Grams is upstairs or whatever, and then start making out, and then everybody
Okay,
comes upon
I can
them.
forgive. That's my bad then.
Yes,
I forgive
yes.
them for that. I was a bit
Yes.
like, "Oh, we want to keep it secret, but let's make it the most
Make it
obvious thing it could possibly be
Yes.
as
No, no, no,
soon
no,
as we
no.
enter where
No,
everybody
no, no,
is."
no, no. No, they were planning their dinner and they came home, I think, a day early. So that's where all of that collided.
And nobody likes
Um,
to speak to anybody either properly, do they, in Dawson's Creek? I mean,
yeah.
every damn time anything of any severity or seriousness happens, nobody properly likes to speak to each other. I mean, we had it in the extreme sort of opposite when Mitch died, obviously, and nobody really wanted to speak properly to anybody about it. Nobody really wanted to
Yeah.
speak properly to Dawson about it or give Dawson exactly what he wanted to, apart from maybe Jen, which is why where we are
We
where
are
we're at
where we
now.
are. Exactly. So everyone's kind of dancing around things because even Joey seeming like she's fine the whole time and then does reveal like her true feelings about all of this.
Yes, I
Um
mean Pacey, God love him, is kind of Pacey and Jack, and Audrey, I suppose, to a bit, but Audrey is more concerned with Joey. But Pacey and Jack are kind of smirking throughout the whole dinner, just
Yes,
going,
I mean,
"Oh, I know what's gone on. We know what's gone on here, don't we, Pace? Yeah, we know what's gone on here, don't we, Jack? Yeah, nobody else is wanting to say
yeah, like
anything, but
Jack is like, "I can
we're
read
there,
it." Yeah.
giving each other the wink of being like, Dawson's had it
Yes,
off here. We know he has, and he's not going to say anything because he's a bit too embarrassed because everybody's
yes.
here and it's funny."
When they're at the table alone, just Jack and Pacey, it's the funnest little moment because they're like, did they? Yeah, I think they did. And like Jack is like, yeah, I can usually read it on her. So yeah, I can definitely see that, yeah, she did. And Pacey's like, oh man, and he did all that, and we didn't even have the talk. Like, because
Yeah, it's like, what are we
and
gonna do now?
exactly. And then I love like the flashback conversation. It was like, well, her and me, we almost did. Because remember that whole thing where they're like, well, we're the two
Yes,
sexual active ones,
yes.
and we just need to like get our rocks off. And so they're constantly them that whole kind of situation where they were constantly trying to hook up, but then something would interrupt them, or they just weren't feeling it, or whatever. Which another leads to another kind of scary episode that I forgot about, the Witch Island, when they go to the Witch Island and that
Oh
whole
yeah,
thing
that was
happens.
good. The
Yes.
Blair Witch style episode. Yeah.
Yes, and they are making out there, and then like the whole place starts shaking and stuff. And then, on the ski trip when Jack and Jen were drunk and like almost got down with it. So
it was a wild one.
And then they're like, so what was the difference? And they're like, straight and virgin. Like, think that was the difference.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a really kind of funny conversation. And then it's just the Audrey constantly like spilling stuff on herself to like pull Joey away to like just check in on Joey's well-being. And it's a couple times where Joey is just like, I'm fine. Like, why is everyone worrying about me? I think there's a moment where she does like an early part of a conversation with Dawson where she kind of says she's fine. A kind of awkward like apology from Jen saying like, we didn't really mean for this to happen. And Jen feeling some guilt on her part.
This is what annoys me sometimes about what goes on in Dawson's Creek when it comes to these sort of situations. People apologize for no reason, though. It's not even like, I don't. Can I understand why Jen thinks she has to apologize? What's she apologizing for? Is she apologizing because, I'm sorry to take, I know that you and Dawson, Joey, have always said that you've always thought that Dawson's first time would be with you, and this has all been and always a big thing. But also, let's remember your first time was with Pacey, Joey. So that broke down.
Yeah, but you remember
Joey
the
and Dawson
huge
situation, didn't it?
Yes,
I remember the whole huge thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
I remember
the whole hesitation that Joey had to even tell Dawson the truth. Dawson admitting that it would hurt him to hear that it was Pacey. So despite them not even being together,
manipulation.
There's exactly. But despite them not being together, this kind of information is effective to them. And there's also this kind of like Jen and Joey bridging this gap of kind of finally becoming friends. Joey thanking Jen for being there for Dawson when she couldn't be there for Dawson.
I thought we were over this now.
Well, no, I mean, generally just the girl code rules of like, don't date your friend's ex and that whole kind of thing. And then there's this added layer of doing that with this whole kind of childhood saga person for Joey. So there is a valid, I think, concern of guilt from Jen for feeling the type of way she does about this in worrying about Joey. So I think it's a fair thing for Jen to feel when you're looking at girl code, when you're looking at the complicated relationship between these women surrounding this man. I think it's a fair, valid concern that Jen should have. And I think it shows how human she is, which Joey knows that and says to her, I'm not mad at you because I know you're a good person. So she knows there's no malice or maliciousness. And that speaks to a maturity because look at you, months ago, you were lying about losing your virginity with Pacey to Dawson because you were so worried about the truth of it. But now here in this situation, it's kind of like shoe on the other foot kind of thing. And you can just read it in a mature way, despite feeling how you may feel about it. You're not, coming at Jen any kind of crazy way because you know that at heart she is a good person. So
no, the thing is with Joey here is you say, and I agree with you, that it's a mature look from her to understand Jen's intentions are strictly honourable and all this business. I understand that. And I agree with that. But then by the end of the episode, obviously Joey comes out with the proper feelings of what she's actually feeling that are a little bit more as we would expect, as they maybe used to be. Oh, isn't it? I never thought this would happen. How could this happen? I'm really feeling some type of way about it. I'm not so sure how comfortable I am with it. Well, then surely the most mature thing is to just say that at the first. Just say that to begin with.
Well, I feel like there's a lot of pressure on her for her reaction. So I can understand her as well in terms of not wanting to reveal. And I think it's also, it takes her by the end of this dinner to really process what she really feels, Considering
You
she
know
was kind
what?
of
Fair enough.
blindsided,
Yeah.
bombarded. So I give her some grace in terms of, like, kind of fully realizing what she's feeling by the end of things, and that she can talk to Dawson about it and tell him kind of the truth, and questioning, like, would it have been different if I had gone with you? You know,
Yeah, I mean,
when did
everybody
I
does
stop?
just make
Y
such a big
what
deal of everything though, don't they? And I'd really just feel it's why I like what Pacey and Jack's attitude in this whole thing is because the both of them, they understand it's a significant thing, but they're not making this over serious, emotional
Yeah,
big
this
deal
big
about
spectacle
everything.
about it. Yes,
And that's what spoils not that it spoils anything.
yeah,
I'm here saying it's a great episode. I think it is the strongest episode of the season
yeah,
so far from a writing point, from a story point, from an
mhm.
emotional character relationship point. I really, really do. But it spoils the relationship between everybody else when everybody takes everything so seriously and thinks everything requires an extreme reaction one way or another. Just be Pacey and Jack and go, "Ah, wild. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
but I think
Okay, crack
again
on."
yes, but then I think there is the self-awareness of them not trying to have these big reactions, which is why Joey kind of suppresses how she really feels until the end, because she doesn't wanna be seen making this a big deal, like, she
Well, Audrey doesn't help in that
while
regard,
everyone
and
exactly.
here was me saying I thought Audrey was gonna be all for it, and Audrey was going nudge, nudge to Dawson and say, "Oh, go on, Dawson, why not do
Yeah,
that?" But then I must remember that Audrey is first and foremost is Joey's roommate and Joey's
Joey's
friend.
exactly.
So
Exactly. So, um, yeah, Joey does admit to Audrey kind of her true feelings by the end, like that last time she spills some stuff and pulls her away, that, she had hopes that, like, something would happen, and that, after Mitch died, that, things would be paused, and she understood that. Um, and so she feels like she doesn't have a right to ask or expect anything after that. Um,
how long do you
and
wanna
so
wait
she
for though, Joey? That's my question,
well,
you
clearly,
know?
there was this effort for her to try to kind of be there, but it was just not meshing. It was just not working. And Dawson kind of reveals why that wasn't working. Because ultimately she's so tied to that life and that past that it just hurts him to be around her.
Yeah,
Um,
and that made total sense,
Lucent,
but
yeah,
the fact that Joey, after that explanation from Dawson, is still kinda holding on to this. I understand, obviously, this is a years old, arguably, how old are they now? It's probably nearly a 10-year-old thing that's been bubbling since probably they
yeah,
were, what, 12 or something like that. So it's probably like
yeah.
an 8-year,
8,
7-year-old
yes, that
thing that's
Joey
been
was
going
has been
on.
harboring these feelings for him. Yeah. Yeah, and they thought
So
this
I
could be
I
their chance, and then, yeah, as soon as Mitch
I
died,
get
that kind of
it.
halted everything, and
But
just
she has to realize, for me, she has to realize that, or she has to actually understand what Dawson said in that moment. And I don't ever quite think she fully did because she was still holding on to this. I don't blame Joey for doing that. I think Joey's a wonderfully written
yeah,
character in all these nuanced ways. She can just be frustrating in how she seems to just hold on to unnecessary things, though, and have never quite. She's the one person out of everybody who suffers the most from lack of communication with anybody else. Throughout the whole show, I think she's been the one person more than anybody else who needs to have better conversations with other people and more thoroughly understanding conversations
yeah,
with other people. Because right when I thought she had that, after Mitch died, I thought she had that with Dawson. She's shown here that she didn't quite get everything that
yeah,
Dawson was saying, and she clearly she needed that bit extra. And whether this comes from an insecurity, whether this comes from Joey obviously being quite a as I said before, quite a nervy person, quite a stressy sort of person,
Yeah.
quite an insecure person, wonderfully written character. It's understandable, it's believable. This is the great things I was saying about before with this whole show. They make these
Mhm.
characters so, so human, even in their developing maturity. There's still
Yeah.
these faults, there's still these issues. And it just it tears me down a bit, Joey, because I'm just like, oh, just this is we should be just able to move on
I
from this.
know,
We
but I mean,
really should. I
I
understand why we can't, but we really should. And it
but
must be as frustrating for you,
I
Joey, as it is for me watching it.
I just oh, I'm just in the mindset to give her a little bit more grace because yes, Joey has done some things that I'm not, too keen on, but in this situation, you have to understand, like, a couple months ago, this man dropped out of school, moved to where you are
I mean,
to
that's a
kind
good
of
point. Yeah.
to figure out what could be of rekindling this thing, what that
Yeah.
looks like. He went from that to now being with your best friend and the girl that took him from you in the first place. And even if
I
you don't look
suppose
at
I'm
it from
saying this
and even if you
because
don't look at it from those high school eyes, it's also this thing of like, you despite what your relationship status is, you have always been the closest person to this person.
yeah,
And so when he's gone through the hardest thing he's ever gone through and you cannot be there for him, he doesn't seem to want you to be there for him. And this other person can be in the way that you were fighting to be. That on top of the fact that like this whole kind of promise of what you guys could be in the future you could have, him leaving his life to join your life. Um and then ultimately having to put your life together with him and future together with him on pause in figuring that out. And then months later, finding that out with your friend.
yeah,
Like, you have to I think if you're looking at it from the high school eyes of like this, threesome dynamic that they were struggling through in season 1, um, it's shifted to a far more mature thing, to a far more complex thing, I think here. That yes, just months
it
prior,
is.
he's the only reason he was in Boston was for Joey. And now a couple months after that, he's now with, established with Jen. So you
I
can understand, you
suppose
can imagine that it would be a little difficult for her to kind of just let go of that idea of them because
you
she
know what,
was just
I
starting
mean,
to kind of entertain it again, and circumstances threw that out for her.
it's totally
And
fair. It's
and
totally,
compounding
totally
on that, she couldn't be there for him in the hardest time of his life when she has been considered the closest person to him. And so that on top of their whole future together being halted, I think is a lot. And I think
it is.
she's handling it pretty well considering, I think. So,
She's definitely handling it better than she's ever handled anything else. I think this is
yeah.
definitely an improvement in maturity from Joey, absolutely. And it's absolutely fair what you are saying. I'm not necessarily disagreeing with any of that. Maybe I'm just looking at it from the point of the viewer, knowing what Dawson and Jen's recent relationship has been like, and not quite realizing that Joey doesn't know what Dawson and Jen's recent relationship has been like.
Yeah.
Joey's not in the loop of that really pleasantly, positively blossoming relationship
Yeah.
between Dawson and Jen. She doesn't know any of that's happened, really. She knows a little bit of that, okay, they've been talking to each other about this kind of
Well,
thing.
no, I think it does kind of come out and get revealed that they've hooked up, that, like,
Oh, it
sex
does.
is
Yeah,
involved. Yes,
I'm
yeah.
not talking about specifics in this episode. I'm talking about what's just come in
Okay.
the somewhat previous episodes. Like, we've seen Dawson and Jen since Mitch's death
Get closer, yeah.
really, really become close, and Joey doesn't know that's happened properly, is what I'm saying. We know it's happened properly, so we're
Well, I
there
mean, she
going,
does have
"This
that
makes sense." she knows a little bit, but she doesn't know the extent of everything.
Okay.
She's not been in the room with them. She's not seen
Okay.
the looks. She's not seen the speeches.
Okay.
She's not seen
Yeah.
the conversations. So I give her grace from that for not quite realizing. I think personally, just how strong Dawson and Jen are at the moment. She might be viewing it as, oh, you're returning to Jen. I wonder why you're returning to Jen. This is a bit nervous for me. Like, what's been going on here?
Yeah.
Because she's also somebody that kind of needs to know things, needs to know
Yeah.
reasons for things. So
Yeah.
I know the reason for this. We, the viewer, knows the reason.
Yeah.
Know the reason for this. So, but Joey doesn't. And I think in speaking about it now, it's a lot more complex and a lot more nuanced than I was giving it credit for whilst watching the episode.
Yeah.
It's what makes these Discovering Dawson's Creek episodes so good.
Yeah.
Because we're able to have this sort of discussion and break things down like this and actually understand that Joey's mindset makes total sense to Joey. Maybe not to us, the viewer, because we know much more than anybody else knows. But to Joey, it makes total sense.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I just go into it giving her a lot of grace in terms of, like, how big of a change this is from where it was, just a few months ago. And it's gotta be really hurtful hearing that, like, Dawson says, like, "You couldn't be that person for me that she could be for me because, purely because you are tied to my past and my father in a lot of ways, and it just hurts me to go there, it hurts me to be there." So, that realization has gotta just be a huge kick, in her gut. So,
Definitely.
yeah,
But it's an
how did you
understandable thing for Dawson to say.
Yes, and then how did you feel about her discussion with Pacey kinda at the end of the episode?
Yeah, I mean, I find it fascinating that these two are able to come back together in not together in
Yeah.
this way,
Yeah.
but in a level of deep emotional conversation, as it obviously is, and confiding and sort of revealing from Joey, she feels like she has Pacey there to say what she needs to say too. And I didn't think that was going to be possible after, their breakup, their horrific breakup. I
Yes.
really didn't think this would be ever possible again. I thought they may simply be, as they have been, cordial enough and just pleasant enough, but that depth that remains surprised me. That's what surprised me the most about that. Do I like it? I'm not saying I don't like it. I'm not saying I don't like that there's still a depth there, because I think that shows a level of maturity that we've moved on
100%.
from the horrors of the breakup.
Yes. Yes, yeah. So yeah, I do like that they can come together and have these conversations because their breakup was terrible, but seeing that they're still in a good place is really nice to see.
It's very
I also
nice.
loved this episode taking the time to explore the Jen Jack kind of fallout and them acknowledging that they
Yeah.
used to be so interconnected and now they've, just grown so far apart. And their kind of sadness and mourning of that and them trying to kind of understand how it happened, and really addressing it and like how she's kind of writing him off as a frat guy and him, kind of blaming her and kind of making her feel like she's backtracking to her old choices and them just
Yeah.
not really understanding each other anymore, and them realizing that they don't understand each other anymore. It's really kind of sad because we saw how just,
It is.
tight knit they were.
They were
Um
great.
so I liked that this episode takes a solid beat to kind of acknowledge them working through their issues and how they've grown apart. And we get this cute little thing of like, Jen has a cup of coffee and Jack remembers how she takes her coffee. And so he pours a little cream in there
Yeah.
for her, just as a kind of like, I still know you kind of nod. So that just speaking to that, we don't need these dinners. We just need to do these little organic things to keep this
Yeah.
friendship alive. And that kind of was a little kind of signal to that in my mind.
Yeah, I think it's
Charlie
really
show
it's really
yeah.
wonderful. Charlie does
Yeah.
show up for the last little bit, yes, I suppose he does.
Yeah, to just kind of shake things up. He's bringing her a t-shirt. He's kind of seeing where her status is at because the other girl that he ended up picking didn't work out with her. So he's kind of trying to feel out how it would be with Jen. Dawson's gonna go out and check on her. Pacey tries to kind of give him a bit of advice, like, don't be that clingy guy who's constantly checking on her. And
I
Dawson is
agree
like,
with Pace.
why do I feel like that sounds more like you than me?
Oof.
And he's like, I appreciate your advice, but it's fine. So he goes out there, peeks his head out, just make sure she's okay, doesn't really kind of make a big thing about it. But Charlie knows that, okay, this guy is
Mm,
probably a guy, maybe I should back up. And like Jen's like, well, you gotta understand, like, my friends are good friends, so they're not gonna really want you around because they know what you did to me. So yeah, uh just a lot of things kind of happening, shaking this whole thing up. Audrey the whole dinner's like, I've heard about this Grams, I want to see a Grams, where's this Grams? And Graham showing
yeah,
up at the end, and Audrey getting very excited about it. So
I'm excited
yeah.
to always see Grams as well, she doesn't show up as much as she used to.
No, but she has her moments. And while everything else kind of falling apart in Pacey's dinner, he makes this fancy like chocolate cake, and that's the one thing that like
He
seems to work
does.
out.
Yeah, it
Everybody
really
likes
works.
it. Yes. Even saves a little slice for Grams. And they all kind of come to a decision that, yeah, we are kind of in different places. Our friend group is a little messy right now, but we shouldn't force it. We should kind of enjoy having our different experiences, but knowing that we are always here for each other and we can come together when we feel like we need to. So
Yeah,
in that's kind of and they so that puts I think like the mid-season button on kind of this
I
whole
suppose so.
situation. And then we have Jen kind of taking Dawson up to the attic where he's gonna sleep, and they're just kind of trying to decompress from the day. Jen asked Dawson if he wants to talk about it. He's like, not really. So they end up just kind of, laying on the bed and having a little giggle and
Yeah,
relaxing and decompressing from everything. So yeah.
it's needed. It's needed. We
Mhm.
we will
Uh,
take a bit of time to decompress ourselves, I think. I think this felt like a fallout episode, the fall
yeah,
what is the fallout of the hookup between
yeah.
Dawson and Jen. And now I feel like we need a fallout of this episode as well. So what will
Yeah, the fallout to the fallout.
the
Yes,
fallout
and
fallout be?
this whole situation, is just making me really kind of upset about things going down the line. So,
Don't
uh
say things like to me,
and that's what you do to me on the Doctor Who episodes.
it is a little bit,
Um,
yes.
yeah, because now I'm realizing that, like, man,
Stop
where
it.
things
I don't like
where
this.
things go, like, because I'm telling you, I don't quite remember. I remember little nuggets of things, but I don't remember kind of how
Yeah.
we get there, or when, or what. But kind of seeing things in this situation, I'm just like, man,
Mm,
why,
okay.
why did you not make the decision to just like, you know?
I don't like that. I don't like this. This doesn't sound good at all. I don't like it at all.
Yeah. So
Ugh,
yeah, but
scary. As
I didn't
scary
really a
as
really
4
interesting place
scary
to leave
stories.
it. Yes. A really
It
interesting
is.
place to leave it. So, yeah, we'll be back in January 2002 in the new
Yes,
year.
we will.
Yeah.
We will. In a couple of weeks, obviously,
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
next episode of Discovering Dawson's Creek. A
Yeah.
great discussion that it has been today on these two very fun, one very fun
Yeah.
episode and one very emotionally significant episode. And it's
Mhm.
good to have that balance. It's what
Yeah.
Dawson's Creek does seem to do pretty well consistently throughout its whole run there.
Yeah.
But this is alternating every Monday at the moment, of course, with diving into Doctor Who, as you've just alluded to there. Jeannine. You can find that every Monday. You can find Morgan Hasn't Seen every Wednesday, currently on a Tom Cruise series for July, and a Doomsday movie series over on the main show, celebrating old movies every Friday, as we do love to do the most over there. Fun and games all week long on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Do subscribe wherever you are listening to today's episode, or indeed subscribe and ding your notification bell on the It's a Wonderful Podcast YouTube channel if you are watching over there. Leave your comments on Spotify, rate, review, like and share anywhere else you may be listening to, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, any of the other such podcast places, wherever that may be. If you would like to support us on Patreon or donate in any way, you can find links to do that in the description of today's episode, or of course find us on and across all the social medias on the app formerly known as Twitter and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E in the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All your emotional carnage is where.
You could find me Jeannine Devine _ on Twitter, Jeannine Devine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
Well, there we go. It does, of course, leave only one thing left to do. And because we had a 4 scary stories episode today, I think some sort of ghostly horror way of counting down would work quite nicely.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Bye.